Temperatures reached a boiling point this week as speaker after speaker urged South Africans to rise up against the injustice that is corruption. This was during a virtual anti-corruption rally hosted by the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation. Labour, business and civic society joined together in what some have likened to the United Democratic Front in the 1980s that hastened the fall of apartheid rule in South Africa. Among the speakers at the event was Black Business Council President Sandile Zungu, who now joins us and will also be joined by UDM leader General Bantu Holomisa for this discussion. Mr. Zungu, good evening. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm going to begin here. We're seeing, of course, corruption allegations every day, reports of corruption, investigations of corruption, and really it doesn't look like this cancer is going away, is it?
Thank you, Bongi, for having me here. The cancer is not going away. Like I said yesterday, it seems corruption is now on steroids. It's getting worse, and by the day. And by the way, it's an affront to all of us. It's not just government, it's the private sector. All sectors of society, including the clergy and the judiciary, are not spared of this horrible cancer that's afflicting us as a society. We need to be worried, damn worried.
And how do we begin to address the issue of accountability? Because South Africans are really lambasting the lack of accountability here and saying that it does appear that those who are found to be corrupt really, get away with just a slap on the wrist.
First of all, I don't think people in South Africa truly and honestly appreciate the danger that corruption poses to our nation state and our democracy. It's probably right now, more than inequality, the single biggest threat to our democracy. When the poor people who, by design, are the biggest losers to corruption, when they ultimately decide this is enough, enough is enough, we've got nothing more to lose except the shackles that tie us to the ground. They rise up, we'll lose everything that we've built, the legacy of Madiba. What then needs to happen is that there has got to be accountability, and we've got to hold people accountable. If you look at the specific matter you were discussing earlier with Outer and Abasa, classical example of a body of accountants deciding this person is bringing the profession to serious disrepute. If the courts will take a long time to hold this person accountable and find him guilty or not guilty, we shall take action. There is sufficient circumstantial evidence to justify us taking action against this person. So we need more of those, where professional bodies decide you are an engineer, you have messed up, we'll strip you of the title. You are an accountant, you are an architect, you are a lawyer. I think it begs the question, why are top civil servants not members of a professional body that can hold them to account? If they're held accountable, they can then be stripped of the title that entitles them to be top civil servants. That kind of accountability is required. Number two, there's a general abuse of a notion of fairness in our jurisprudence, where you are deemed innocent until proven otherwise. It's not just politicians who abuse this, but also just ordinary employees and civil servants. And they actually jump from one position to another. They re-emerge in a different position, sometimes even more powerful. Something needs to be considered to short-circuit the process, such that it's not just about people upholding certain moral standards and ethical standards that will actually prick their conscience to do the right thing when they are deemed to be on the wrong. But actually there must be instruments of state that empowers action to be taken much sooner than the courts can apply themselves to the issues at hand.
And Mr. Zungu, I'm going to ask you just to pause there for us, and we'll be joined by General Bantu Holomisa in a short while. But I know that, this, of course, is an issue that really needs, quite a lot of discussing, and it's got a lot of layers. And I'd really like us to delve into this tonight and just look at really what will it take for South Africa to really rid itself of corruption and see ethical leadership really emerge. But we'll continue with this discussion after this. We continue our conversation really looking at corruption and the cancer that is really corruption in South Africa. And I do understand that now we've got the UDM leader, General Bantu Holomisa, on the line. Bantu Holomisa, good evening. And we were talking with Mr. Zungu just a short while ago about why South Africa is really battling to rid itself of the cancer that is corruption. And it's something that your party has also spoken out against, and even going as far as calling for the dissolution of the executive.
Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this important debate. Yes, corruption has been eating into the body politic of South Africa like a cancerous tumor. Unfortunately, there has not been a political will to deal decisively with this corruption. You will recall that as early as 1994, the signs of what was to be shown when the Sarafina II scandal was swept under the carpet. And we are lucky, in fact, that recently this corruption was exposed in the COVID funding, because some people in this country thought that if we are going to intercept the government money earmarked to help the poor, then that means the moral compass of this country is pointing south since 1994 under a democratic government. But why there is this? In a one-party dominance or one-party state, it's easy to get away with this. How many times have we been calling for investigation? And the government just look at us. At one stage, they were even defending their president's swimming pool, to call it something else, a thing which presented us as a laughing stock in the world. So as far as I can see, what has destroyed the South African civil service or the government is political directive, which comes from the ministers who have usurped the powers of the accounting officers. And those accounting officers are just useless, because after all, they were deployed by the same party, and these ministers, some of them are their bosses at the party level. So until we change the whole system of employing even DGs, chief directors, deputy DGs, but insofar as the private sector is concerned, the government of the ANC from time immemorial has been using consultants. But on the other hand, they have employed DGs and chief directors and deputy DGs and so on. And the private sector has found a way of doing cut and paste. Every year they change systems and they go away with a lot of money. But of course, if the political heads of those departments are the ones who introduces these business people to the technocrats, then everybody is going to be scared, and those technocrats are not going to be free.
And I just want us to listen to a soundbite by an activist, Johnny Fredericks, who says that President Cyril Ramaphosa should be held accountable for the corruption that's happening in the country.
I believe that as the leader, as the father of this nation, he must be able to say why things are the way they are. And I am quite upset that we, all of us, has allowed President Cyril Ramaphosa to get away with his leaderless behavior. The issue around leadership is not whether you are standing up strongly enough to stand up against whatever doesn't work, but it's about your quietness. And the issue around President Cyril Ramaphosa's quietness is what will drive people to starve from to die from starvation. President Cyril Ramaphosa has been very quiet on the issue of hunger. He has been very, very quiet on the issue of starvation. He is not talking about what will happen to people who are being found guilty of corruption.
Mr. Zungu, I'd like to bring you back into this discussion. I know you were part of that virtual rally yesterday when Joni Fredericks was really talking about this issue, and quite a heartfelt plea from her, we heard yesterday. Do you think this lack of leadership when it comes to dealing with issues around corruption?
Well, the issue of leadership is a major area of concern for all South Africans. Leadership is multifaceted. If we focus on just one individual, we may risk missing the point. Let's look at leadership in NPA, SIU. Just recently, we've begun to see the SIU showing some teeth. It's welcomed. We actually do expect the NPA to bring people properly to justice, to account. We have been seeing the police arresting people, sometimes getting bail, and never to hear that they've actually gone back to the courts to face justice. So leadership in the justice cluster is found wanting. You talk about leadership at a corporate level. Let's just take a typical example of Steinhoff corruption. I'll call it corruption because remember, the pension fund of public servants, lost a lot of investment there, and the pension fund of public servants is underpinned by us as the taxpayers because it's defined benefits. It's logical, therefore, that we have to remain interested. I was quite puzzled why OTA thinks this is outside of that jurisdiction. This is firmly within that jurisdiction. Because the national treasury or the fiscus is weakened by that corruption. What have corporate South Africans, including the board of Steinhoff, done to really hold the culprits to account? When they went to Parliament, they were obfuscating and they were talking things that no one understood really. Do they want justice to be served or not? So there's lack of leadership even at a corporate level. How many times have we heard of a director or a CFO or a CEO misusing funds, and then all you hear is that now he's resigned to pursue other things, or he has left for overseas without being held accountable? Yes, it's very easy to look at the president and say that's the person who is the lightning rod of everything that's going wrong in this country. But it's unfair because it's going to disempower all of us as South Africans to also play our part. Yes, as business in particular, I've been very concerned about the lack of decisiveness at the level of political leadership in this country. We expect more demonstration of single-mindedness that the president has spoken about so many times in the past, to show that he's leading from the front and he is damn serious about the issue of the scourge of corruption.
And Tato Holomisa, when you look at recent news and the developments that we've been seeing around Zandile, the former mayor of eThekwini, yesterday on Newzroom Afrika was speaking to the premier in KZN and saying that the ANC appears to have solved a problem with another problem, and he understands people's outrage. Do you think he really understands why people are outraged by this?
Well, you can blame or you cannot blame the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, given that, including Cyril Ramaphosa as well, this has been the policy of the ANC, that if you have been found doing something wrong, they are not going to charge you, but they will reward you with a position or posted to be an ambassador elsewhere. It's their culture. Let me just chip in to the earlier question you asked about Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa is ANC. He has been member of the NEC from time immemorial. And he was the deputy president of the ANC. For him alone, there's no way that he can combat corruption in this country. Look at his Secretary General. He told him straight away that you're wasting your time. Show me one leader in this country who has not received a government business from the ANC. A Secretary General contradicting his own president. That means it's your colleague. In fact, there's no way that you would have expected him to clean the government, given that the people he had inherited as a president, those people are part of his program of trying to unite the ANC. That is why I said, if we are serious about cleaning the corruption in this country, we cannot expect ANC to do so because it's contaminated already. The best way is to have an interim arrangement until 2024. The ANC can still influence their members and say, in the interest of the country, the executive must step down. Let us go and talk unity outside of the government.
And there are reports today from the Saturday Dispatch that are suggesting that there was a man who had died 2 years ago who scored a PPE tender worth 1 million rand. And that report further says that there appears to be a problem in the Eastern Cape when it comes to ghost companies. How deep is this problem?
The corruption in this country is affecting all the provinces. It's worse in the Eastern Cape. We have written letters to the Premier, to the President, who have asked questions, but you don't seem to see any movement, especially from the side of the NPA. When you speak to the Hawks management, they will tell you that, yes, we have finished the docket and referred them to the NPA. But when Batoy was appointed, there was a hope. And it's almost 2 years now. She's moving like a tortoise. And I don't know why are we nursing her? We should be evaluating her right now to say, have you done your work? If not, what should we be doing? She complained about lack of money. She was given money by President. So what is it now? But as long as we follow this thing of deploying people from the Tule House to key positions, some of these people have no clue what they are supposed to do. We will continue, therefore, to be having this corruption in the provinces at local government. If we were to do a lifestyle audit, even at local government level, where you say councillor, he's got about 3 cars, and then you say, out of 15,000, 25,000 rand, and this person has no business, but he's got such expensive vehicles. God help us.
And Mr. Zungu, if I can bring you back into this discussion, do you think the floodgates were opened by black economic empowerment, or is there something deeper here?
Well, I must be very emphatic here. It's an insult to black business to use corruption and black economic empowerment in the same sentence. Sometimes it is so, but it's not inevitable that they are linked. Just let's cite a couple of examples, what I would call grand scale corruption incidents or examples. Bosasa, which is unfolding. It's in the Zondo Commission. Probably some people will be hauled to courts. That has got nothing to do with empowerment. Absolutely nothing to do with empowerment. Just at face value, you had white family who were doing deals with the bureaucrats in departments, whether it's correctional services or home affairs, and politicians. That's not black economic empowerment. If you look at Steinhoff, where we talk about hundreds of billions worth of value lost through malfeasance, not empowerment, none at all. If you look at Tonga Toilets, which is a matter unfolding again, not empowerment. There are many other examples. I will even argue, Bongiwe, that what you call COVID-19 malfeasance or COVID proneurship is not black economic empowerment. I spoke to my members at Black Business Council. I said, is any of our members involved here? And we looked at the list that was mentioned. Not a single one of them we could identify with. What obviously appears now is that people who are high up, politically connected, family members, just went on a feeding frenzy on steroids. It was an orgy of corruption and nothing to do with black economic empowerment. As black economic empowerment activists, we guard our space very jealously, and we've actually spoken at length to our members that you shall stay away from corruption. And if you are found wanting, you will not get protection from us. We're very clear on that. And so we expect from the Black Business Council and those who love the notion of economic transformation to be on a straight and narrow, to push aggressively, to lobby and advocate for greater role by black business in the economy, but not in an unorthodox fashion.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time tonight. I do certainly appreciate it, and it does seem to be an issue that will continue to be discussed for quite some time. That was Black Business Council President Sandile Zungu, who, of course, was alongside UDM leader General Bantu Holomisa.